This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
Masks of Nyarlathotep. Where last we left our investigators, they had reunited with Jackson Elias in a hospital in Derby. Not only with Jackson Elias, but also with Lawrence Vane and his sister, Eloise Vane. There was a little bit of tension there, given that it was Eloise who had ripped the throat out of Jackson Elias, but she doesn't seem to be aware of this fact. Rupert had divulged everything he had learned about these Australian cults, and that may well lead into what our investigators uncover when they arrive in the Antipodean Isles. For the time being, we remain in Britain, but only for this session. Once this session is over, we will depart these green and pleasant lands and head somewhere quite different. It's been about half a day since we last spoke between characters in the hospital. Everyone's had a chance to rest. No one's travelled too far, it must be said. Everyone's still in Derbyshire. It's far too dangerous to return to London. But, Madeline, would I be right in assuming you remained close to Jackson?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be staying in the hospital as much as possible. If I can sleep there, that's where I'll also sleep. If I can get any of these artifacts or items that we sent forward to the castle, even if it's just a quarter of them, relocated here just so Jackson and I have something to work on. Those receipts and bills for Randolph shipping to see if there's anything to turn over there, or even some of the items, at least the items that don't immediately give me a sense of trepidation, peril, or despair when I touch them, just to give us something to work on, something to keep him busy, something to keep us busy.
While you're waiting for them to arrive, Jackson and yourself get to spend a little bit of quality time together, which, given his state in a hospital bed, isn't exactly impassioned, but he's able to break down at least once. I imagine you do the same. It's a combination of trauma from recent events, but also relief. The two of you are together. Again, it's been about 6 hours. These kinds of floods of emotion eventually pass, thank goodness. And talk turns to other things. Occasionally you deviate, go back to what seems almost like simpler times back in Peru. But Jackson eventually turns the talk to the future. What should we do when all of this is over, Madeline? What should we do? Where should we go? We can't keep chasing these maniacs around the world.
I was considering the same thing on the train ride out here. And the one thought that kept repeating, at least in my mind, is what do we do when this is all over? Really depends on who we are when this is all over. And I don't even know how to begin to anticipate who we may be at the end of this, if we see the end of this.
He smiles a little at that, hesitates to nod given the injury. Well, it's not causing him any pain anymore. It's not comfortable. I think that's why... it's one of the reasons we are... this is so functional, but we're good together, aren't we? I think we can make this through we can make it through this. We can make it through this if you're there for me and I'm there for you.
I nod quietly in agreement. My nose wrinkles in a point of affirmation to that assessment. What do you want from this? Not from us, but what do you want from this?
Gosh, at first I just wanted to publish a book. I mean, I've published books before. Oh, yeah, you know I've published books before. I wanted to publish a big book or a series of books with all of this exposed so people would know. So that not just academics, but newspapers, so the average person would know that there's things in the world that they've had hidden from them. And it's okay. As in, I didn't want people to read these things and be scared. I wanted them to be able to read them and know that it was possible to overcome them. That, I don't know, maybe that was so fucking arrogant. Now, I mean, I'd still like to publish that book. This money isn't going to last forever. But more than that, the deeper we've gone, I feel like the more we've become aware that these people need stopping, that they need to be put to bed permanently. And that doesn't mean a bullet to the brain. It's almost... And he reaches for the words. It's almost as if there's a magic, and that magic needs to be locked away or banished, forgotten, recorded so that there's evidence that it existed, but in no place or way that someone can learn how to use it again. Like an old technology that was too dangerous for anyone to wield, and one person in 100 knew how to make the machine work without losing his fingers. But it was still killing 99 of the operators. And this, what these people are doing, these cults, these sorcerers, these priests, 99 of them are losing their minds. One of them may be able to manipulate it, but even that 1 in 100 needs to lose their access, needs to stop.
So has this turned into a sense of duty for you then? A sense of responsibility because you know, because you have that burden of knowledge, you feel responsible somehow for seeing this through? And the question isn't, he knows me well enough to know the question isn't coming from a place of criticism. It's sheer curiosity. So much has happened between Peru and where we are right now sitting together on this hospital bed. I'm just trying to understand that trajectory for what he actually wants out of this now. Because it's changed so many times, at least for me.
Yeah, it's funny you are thinking how it's changed so many times, because he then chuckles dryly. Right now, that's the only way he can chuckle. It's changed so many times. Like I said, when it started, it was I wanted to tell all. When we got to New York, it was duty. When I was in that prison, it definitely felt like my duty to make sure that everybody knew. But now in London, after what happened to me in Leicesterdale, feels more personal. And I need to make sure that doesn't consume me. Because I think if we get driven by anger for what happened to Felix and what happened to me, we'll slip up. We need to get back to that feeling of it being a duty, a responsibility. And I'm trying. But good God, Madeline, Felix has been killed. I was nearly killed. You in London, and everything that's happened to us. It's difficult to not take it fucking personally.
Maybe that's not the remedy. I hear you when you say that anger can be blinding and consumptuous, but anger can also be a drive. Anger can provide clarity. Anger can bridge the gap between one point and another when you feel lost. I think the one thing we should definitely consider, we have to absolutely consider, is what we're willing to risk. Your funds won't last forever. We've lost Felix in ways that I don't even know how to reconcile or accept. You have your sense of duty. I have my sense of responsibility. We have our shared anger, but what's the point of no return for us? What's that line that we're not willing to cross to continue on this endeavor? Is it Rupert? Also, I think Rupert lied to me and I haven't cycled back around to talk to him about, but we had the check-in in place, and he said that Felix was fine. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm not going to allow that tether of anger to pull me away from where I am now. What are we willing to lose?
Jackson puts his hand on yours again, gives it a squeeze and says, I can see Rupert's going through a lot. You probably need to figure out whether he imagined it, whether this doppelganger impersonated Felix, or whether he just lied. This, our friend, he has a lot swimming around in that head of his right now. I think any of those three could be true. And do you think right now he would have noticed if Felix was slightly off when he spoke with him?
I've always disliked mirrors of this nature. And I think I just have to bite the inside of my cheeks and recognize that reflection is true. And I need to save room for that, despite the hurt that I have percolating beneath the surface. But that's not going to stop me from sharing that aggravation or pushing that aggravation back on Jackson. No, you're right. No, he may not have seen it. Or didn't want to accept it. Or, if we're going to stay in this moment of discomfort together, given what you were experiencing here, given the thick of the situation that Birdie and I were in, sharing that news to either of us probably would have been detrimental to our individual safeties. And I'm going to give him the look of like, do you feel better?
He rolls his eyes at you at that. When all this is over, we should spend time together. We should go somewhere quiet. An island, maybe. Not this one. We should just spend some time where it's just us. We don't have to worry about all of this.
I'm going to take a deep, grounding breath, and I'm just going to carefully fall back onto him. And I'm going to switch to a language that we learned back in Peru, when these tables were the exact opposite, where it was I that couldn't move or function or travel, and he sat by me. And I'm just going to start going through almost a childlike imaginative exercise. Well, where do we go? Nope, I don't want to go there. How about this? What would we eat? What color is the sky? What are the things we want to explore? What are the languages we want to learn? What are the questions that we want to ask? And just sit in something that's future focused and restorative versus sitting in the reality that we're in now.
It's something of a balm to you to do this. Recover 1d10 sanity. And as you and Jackson spend this quality time together, and it does ground you, and it does provide some clarity to the mists in your mind. Your companions are on the way to Plum Castle for any final business with the veins, to salvage any of these artifacts you may wish to take with you, to bring some back to the hospital, perhaps, to Jackson. You are all in the large truck of Lawrence Vane. He's calling back over the roaring engine. Sorry about the noise. It probably won't be very good for conversation back there.
That's alright.
But good to have you back in Lesser-Adale, Mr. Shattuck. Shelby.
I appreciate the quiet, as it were.
Bertie, this is, since serving in the war, the most countryside you've seen.
Yes.
Once you've left Derby, you're amid rolling hills and fields and valleys. And it's something of a culture shock, quite frankly.
It certainly is a little. Some people say they find this all rather relaxing, but if anything, it feels sometimes the opposite. At least in London, when you get bloody murdered, someone's going to hear it probably, but here, anything could happen. Still, heading off to a castle, whatever, is always interesting. I wonder if they have anything interesting in terms of artifacts to have a ponder at. That would be nice. Take my mind off things.
You don't say that, but opposite you in the back of the truck, Eloise, who has been silent until now, just enjoying the rumble of the vehicle, puts a hand over to your knee. Were you thinking about artifacts? Somehow you can hear her over the rumbling engine.
I withdraw my knee, finding it very awkward for what I assume is she looks like she's not a child, but, well, a child.
Younger than you, certainly.
Yes, so it's still awkward, so I instinctively just withdraw my knee. But then I kind of go, yes, I am a respectable artifact businessman, actually, young lady.
Oh, you can call me Eloise or Miss Vane if you're more comfortable.
Miss Vane.
Antiquities. I've got a collection of antiquities.
Oh, do you now? Oh.
She finally withdraws her hand, which was just hovering in the air where your leg happened to be. Yes, I'd be happy to show you if you're interested.
Well, if that's all right with your father, brother.
They're not my keepers. You hear that, Shelby?
Well, now, young lady, you should always be respecting your elders. It's a lesson my mother always used to tell me.
I never really knew my mother.
Oh. Apologies. Mine died young. Well, when I was young, I guess is a better way of putting it.
No, mine as well.
I'm about to say consumption, and then it occurs to me that might not be appropriate to talk to a young girl about, so I just sort of stop, like, yes. Well, alright, well, if your family alright with it, sure, I could have a look. You never know, maybe you've got something of value. Could take it down to the, town market. You have those out here, don't you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to sell anything. But I'm happy to have you appraise them if that's something you do.
As a matter of fact, it is, and why not? I'm not sure what else we'll be doing at this, castle other than getting I suppose I briefly look at Shelby. Supplies for our holiday?
Where are you going?
Australia. Very exciting, eh? Got all sorts of weird things over there.
I can imagine. And she looks off to one side. I think I've got some antiques from Australia. I have antiques from all over the world. My father has lots of friends. He's in the House of Lords.
Oh, well, that's all very impressive, I say, trying to hold back any sarcasm.
She doesn't pick up on it. Yes, it is. He works very hard.
Oh, I'm sure he does, Miss Vane. Oh, that would be lovely, why not? My first time coming up to a big fancy castle.
Well, castle isn't so fancy, is it, Mr. Shattuck?
It has its charms, certainly.
I imagine it's still bigger than a bedsit in Whitechapel.
Oh, I'm sure I wouldn't know. Mr. Shattuck, if I may, if it isn't rude to ask, I've noticed you've been expressing some discomfort about being sat close to me. Did I do something to offend?
No. You have... No. It's all on my end. It's nothing to do with you, I'm sure.
Rupert, meanwhile, is babbling happily at the front to Lawrence, who he insisted on sitting beside. You arrive at Plum Castle, where you decamp from the truck and make your way in, and Shelby, you can't help but look up, of course, as soon as you enter the Grand Hall, up toward the balcony, up towards the study. The doors are closed now. That place where Jackson was very nearly killed. It was good to be back. I get out so rarely, but it's still fun. Fun's the wrong word. It's still good to be home. Yes, I'm glad we could bring you all back. Rupert, do you want to help me with these boxes? I would be delighted, though Shelby is more of the heavy lifter.
That is true.
And Mr. Hill looks like he's got a bit of muscle.
I can certainly pick up a crate if I need to, Rupert.
Do you want to examine anything beforehand, or are you just taking everything back to the hospital? I'm just worried, that the hospital administrator, the staff there, may object if we start shipping all of this back.
No, we can take a moment to look through, make sure that we're bringing back things that are useful, and also, honestly, Bertie, I wouldn't mind your input on some of the stuff because we just kind of grabbed it. I don't think any of us can really analyze it, and you definitely have more knowledge of this stuff than I would.
I take off my bowler hat and nod. I have been itching to have a closer look at our new acquisitions and determine their worth. For, of course, our purposes.
Other than Eloise, the rest of you head to one of the storerooms of the castle. This is a part of the castle you haven't seen before, Shelby, and indeed it is hardly decorated. This is probably one of the parts that Jackson found while he was wandering around while supposedly attending to other business. And now that you're here and able to see everything that Rupert has shipped to Plum Castle, it is quite apparent that you stole a lot from Empire Spices. These aren't just 2 large crates. You've got boxes of various dimensions, none of which have been opened. You've got some files of paperwork as well. There's also some just basic luggage here too. Yep, this looks like all of it. We got the best haulers in Soho to package all of this up. They ask no questions.
As long as it's all here, I do think we should take the paperwork now. That's going to be a lot of useful information for us. Although I do want to talk, Lawrence, I think some of this might be of relevance to you because we hadn't had a chance to talk about this, but I do believe that your father is perhaps being abused and used by Edward Gavigan, and this may help bring to light some of the misconduct he's performing.
The colour drains from his face, but only briefly. No, we did discuss, I can imagine why you might not recall, how Gavigan had promised us that he would find a cure.
Yes. I believe I can do that in lieu of Mr. Gavigan.
You can?
Before the incident, I had gathered the information together to correct that, but then obviously things spiraled out of control. Now that things are a little less panicky, I can document that information for you so that way you and others can help to correct that condition without the interference of Mr. Gavigan.
His eyes widen and his jaw quite literally drops at this.
You also a doctor, Mr. Shattuck?
This is more of an occult condition.
Occult condition? All right. I sort of shrug, and remembering something about him mentioning something about all this, and again, the young lady did seem a little bit odd, but I won't interfere. I immediately just head over to one of the crates and started getting ready to open it. I'll let them have their conversation.
Well, Bertie, as you are opening up the crates then, we've already established what you took, but for the sake of the record, you discover, within these boxes, a ceremonial robe and skullcap, a papyrus scroll still sealed, 2 sealed sandstone vials, host of paperwork, as mentioned, bills, receipts, invoices, and a rather large idol. Perhaps most profound of all, next to the idol, are the 2 sceptres. They appear at first to be made of solid silver, but the more you examine them, Bertie, because you're familiar with silver, the more the silver almost seems to depress slightly to your touch, as if there's an organic quality.
Very interesting. Yes, I'll quickly take out a pair of leather gloves and put them on, because, you've got to handle such things with care. What sort of metal could this be? Organic silver? Have I come across anything like that before? Must be some trick to it.
Well, I'll ask you now, Craig, for what might be our first roll, to do an appraise or occult. They will be hard rolls either way.
Both are the same, so I'll go with appraise. And I rolled an 18, which is under 25.
No, not only have you never seen a material like this before, a material like this, quite frankly, should not be. Even with gloves on, you feel the need to suddenly retract. Not because this metal is toxic to the touch, though I suppose it very well could be, but more because the way that these sceptres are shaped, one is a crook, one is an inverted ankh, but the way that the ends trail off into tips, it's almost as if the metal has grown, like a plant, or something faunal. You are convinced, Bertie, due to your hard success, that there is something quite alien to what you're looking at right now. And to go further, not just alien in the abstract, not of your world. There is no metal that works like this. Lead is soft, this metal is soft, but lead doesn't have such a sheen. Lead doesn't have such a... As you look closely, bringing your loupe to your eye to examine it, there are rivulets, as if this material has flowed in this way, like mercury has hardened, which of course it can do at the right temperature, but this is not the right temperature. This is a mystery, and an unearthly one.
In some ways that's deeply unsettling. In some ways extremely exciting. This... No one's ever made anything like this, and yet they have. Where could this have come from? Some unknown site in Egypt? It looks Egyptian after all. But... Or maybe from some demonic or infernal, angelic, whatever mythos you subscribe to. But what's its purpose? Obviously ritualistic, but what sort of ritual? Well, you can't tell that just from looking at it, but no, this is priceless. Priceless. But the others are not going to like it when I talk too much about the value of things. So I'll put it aside. Just running my finger over, gloved finger, over that organic, like a plant. Like bamboo, but not like bamboo.
Would you like to pick them up, or are you happy just examining them for now?
I shall pick up one.
Just one. Which one?
Let's see. So it's inverted and...
One is a crook, one is an inverted ankh, as in it is meant to be held upside down. How you're supposed to be able to determine that is only due to the fact Shelby and Madeline have seen it arranged on a wall in that shape.
Yes. By gloved hands, a little closer look at the inverted ankh. After all, I know what an ankh is. An inversion, clearly the opposite of, although in this circumstance, what exactly would that mean? Is it the same as an upside-down crucifix? Somehow, I don't think so, but a lot of religions have similar symbology at the end of the day, I've always thought to myself.
Take 2 mythos, Cthulhu mythos, as you hold it in your hands. This is an unconscious gaining of wisdom. And I will ask you now to make a regular occult roll.
28 under 50. Not quite a hard one, but just a regular success.
The ankh means death. You know it as you hold it. It is a symbol, when inverted, that means death. And yet, even though this silverish substance has a weight to it, a density and mass, it doesn't on its own feel potent. For that, you are drawn to pick up the crook. You succeeded, and therefore it is entirely within your power to say no.
Perhaps, almost instinctually, I do reach for the other object purely out of a strange enrapturement in this wondrous material I hold. And perhaps from the understanding, the limited understanding, that I'm not just a moron, no, I understand the power of such things.
As you pick up the second, you can perceive, Bertie, that they are both glowing with an eerie greenish light. It is dim. By no means is this a strong gleam. It is a dim glow that you are able to pick up when you look directly at them. And still, the power is ephemeral. There is a potency that lies within them that you are not getting. Is there a way you have to pose them? Is there a way you have to wield them? Is there something you need to say, a magic word? There is something missing. These are both powerful artifacts. You know that, just as your Eye of Thoth was a powerful artifact. But how to make them function? Are there any leaps in logic or faith you wish to make here, Craig? Is there any kind of decision you would like to make for Bertie in how he uses them?
I suppose the only thing then I will attempt, before perhaps greater reason starts to kick in here, is I wonder what happens if you hold the ankh close but point the crook at something, not my associates. Perhaps just, is there anything down here like a plant or anything? Probably not.
It's a storeroom. I will quite happily have you make a luck roll.
No, that's a failure, so no.
No. You can see some rat droppings in the corner, and there's a fleeting hope that you might see a rat scuttle by, but sadly not. If your hope is to blast a living creature into oblivion right now, and who knows, maybe that's what these scepters are capable of, you are denied an easy target.
No, instead I'll just point at the wall.
You pose, holding the crook out while the ankh is close to you. Shelby, now that you're done speaking with Lawrence, you're looking at Bertie, who looks every part the statue at this point. You're not entirely certain what he's doing. Certainly, Bertie, nothing is issuing forth. You're still aware of the power of these items, but whatever their function is or how to activate it presently eludes you.
And perhaps on that note, I stop the pose and clear my throat and put them both back down. Put them both back down, because dabbling in things you don't know is not a clever idea. You don't just throw gasoline all over the floor and set it alight. And so I sort of quickly, carefully just put them back down next to each other and say, "Hi, yes,
You all right?
Yeah, no, these are absolutely priceless, Mr. Shattuck. And they definitely do something very unusual, but there is, not just... you need to have more than just these two things, I think. Definitely ritualistic, though. Probably not in a good way. Death is hardly a good symbol. I gestured to the Ankh.
But you're telling me they have more than merely symbolic power?
Oh, yes. Yes, Mr. Shattuck, this material... it's almost as if it grew out of the earth. A grown metal, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you has certainly not been discovered yet.
Okay, good to know.
I don't mind admitting, says Lawrence. This is all very strange. That's not to say I haven't been confronted with some strangeness across the course of my life. But you're telling me that that metal there is... what? Magic? That those antiques are magical?
I wouldn't phrase it in that way, sir, but some people believe there are many things in this world that have power in them, and sometimes, well, there are things that aren't explainable, right?
No, I agree. I'm not asking this with judgment. He approaches the crate. Magical, these scepters. Fascinating.
Yes, but I confess that these two items perhaps are not, well, something tells me the magic they do isn't a good luck charm. But it's all part of a puzzle. These two things by themselves, well, don't seem to do anything yet.
Are you taking them with you when you sail to Australia?
Possibly. We still need to look through them. Like, have you had a chance to look at the idol yet?
No. I am more cautious of that, sir. Idols such as that are often quite, something. Where is it again?
It is in a sealed crate, and yet it seems to be in the darkest corner of the room, looming, ominous, despite it not being visible.
I step towards it, try and get a better look. This time I'm not so keen on touching it, not first anyway.
Okay, Bertie, do you unseal the crate?
Yes, but I will call Shelby over. Say, come on, Mr. Shattuck, this was your dive after all.
Yeah, well, mostly it was to get it out of somebody else's hands, not necessarily into ours. But yes, let's take a look.
The idol is within the crate, unchanged, still hewn from its black stone. Unlike most idols of this kind, the face upon it seems to be fixed in a hideous scowl. It is also perfectly preserved, so if this is several thousand years old, like the kind of antiques found in the British Museum, this is another remarkable find and another priceless piece of archaeology.
I have to hold back a slight twitch at the value of this. The other two things alone. This would make everything worth it.
Nevertheless, staring at these, for the both of you, requires a sanity roll.
48 under 50. I pass.
81 under 85. I pass.
While it does not bend or break your minds, you can feel a very strong resonance from this idol, as if it is able to perceive you. The eyes don't move. Indeed, looking down into the crate, it would be impossible for it to see you without craning its neck, and yet you are certain, both of you are certain, that it is as aware of you as you are of it.
Can I use my knowledge of the occult to determine if this is a idol that could be used to scry through, like someone could see through the eyes of this idol into another place?
I will ask you to make a hard occult roll, Eddy.
No. 87 over 64, so no.
Do you want to spend any luck?
Last time I did that, things were bad for me.
In that case, you choose. It's up to you. What do you think?
I look at the idol for a moment, and then I start to put the lid back on the box. It's like I'm worried someone can see us through that.
I believe the purpose of such a thing doesn't need to be dwelt on too much. It's probably the centerpiece of worship of, well, the cult's Black Pharaoh. And this is probably... Well, you saw the room, Shelby. Where better to sacrifice and commit such deeds than in front of the gaze of your supposed god. Therefore, I feel, considering the size as well, lugging this all the way to Australia seems a little unnecessary. Perhaps this can simply be... I lean forward. I know Rupert has different things, but I know a few people who would take this off our hands, somewhere far away, and then, well, their problem.
You don't think it's better to destroy it?
Destroy it? How would you go about doing that exactly?
I'm sure we could find a hammer. Throw it off a very tall building we happen to be in?
Sure you're not worried about that angering whatever it represents?
No, you're better at this than I am. So yeah, if you think that you can get a way to get it out of our hands and make sure it doesn't blow back onto the veins, then yeah.
Yes, give me a phone and I could arrange a very discreet sale. And again, then it would be their issue, their problem. And deep down, I am slightly thrilled because yes, this is a perfect solution. Make the money off it. We don't need this, and even I confess to feeling ill at ease with it. Destroying it, these lot will probably be like that, won't they? But it's still a priceless artifact. And, well, who's to say destroying it actually destroys it in this case? Maybe it's immune to being chiseled. I certainly am not going to start taking a hammer and chisel to it.
Which takes us to the papyrus scroll and vials. The robe and skull cap, you're fairly certain, are simply ceremonial. They have no purpose beyond that. Therefore, does one of you wish to unseal the papyrus scroll? I'll tell you this, the wax seal on it is recent, but the papyrus itself is not.
Well, I've got the gloves, and I've got some of my dusting kit that I happen to have in my pocket. Not much, though. Shall I do the honours, Mr. Shattuck?
By all means, you're the expert.
I shall gently attempt to take this papyrus scroll out.
Make a sleight of hand, or if you have archaeology or similar skill.
I do have archaeology. Sleight of hand. I have a feeling my sleight of hand is non-existent. Yeah, that's non-existent, so archaeology, although it's still not great. 71, and I think on this occasion I will fail.
You don't want to push your luck?
No, just a normal failure, I'll accept it. Again, perhaps my tools... Well, again, I don't actually have my proper tools.
That's true. And this is old papyrus that somehow someone has recently been able to roll and seal again, but unfurling it does not have the requisite outcome. As you take the seal off perfectly, the scroll crumbles into multiple pieces. It won't be unreadable, but it is most definitely a separated artifact now. It is...
Oh, fucking hell, now hang on, don't panic, bloody, just, look, we can still, just careful, just put it together a little.
Sounds like you're the one panicking, Mr. Hill.
It's a priceless piece of, if I'd only had my tweezers. Fine.
I'm going to go take a walk with Lawrence.
Yes, thank you, Rupert.
Leaving the two of you in the storeroom.
Don't panic, Mr. Shattuck. My Egyptian's not very good. Let's hope it probably will be fucking hieroglyphs. Let's have a look.
You've never heard so many expletives out of Bertie's mouth, Shelby. Admittedly, you've only just come to know him, but you've now discovered what it is that rattles him. and it's when he ruins a priceless artifact from several thousand years ago.
I'm, at this point, have to confess to myself privately, I may have some small misgivings about this perfectly legitimate business person.
Bertie, you start examining the fragments of the scroll. Sure enough, the scroll is written in Arabic, not ancient Egyptian, so it's not in hieroglyphs. You would actually appraise it without a roll as being about 1,000 years old. Do you know Arabic?
No, other than maybe a smattering of words. I'd need a proper translation here.
Well, in that case, you might want to keep hold of these pieces until you find an expert.
Hey, Chattock, you reckon the fancy veins have a pen and paper? I'll write this down.
They have a whole library, even.
I'll quickly run off to see if I can just get a basic pen and paper and write it down. To the best of my ability.
Okay, you transcribe the contents of the scroll so that it's no longer in broken pieces. Therefore, even though you take the time to do it, at least now you have it all in one piece. And finally, Bertie, you remember that Eloise invited you to view her antique collection, which was not a come-on. It would be a pretty terrible one if it was.
No, I didn't think so. I actually thought it was a strange... I don't know, people who live in castles like this often aren't all there, are they?
No, and the Vanes are no exception. She is gratified to see you. I didn't know if you'd make it.
Well, we had a moment. I've left Mr. Shattuck downstairs to finish up things, but like I did say, I do keep my promises, miss. So go on then, what are the priceless pieces of your collection?
Well, if you'd like to come through, it's a bit of a mess, I'm afraid. She opens the door to her personal study, and Bertie, it is for you equivalent to when Howard Carter knocked through the wall into Tutankhamun's tomb and uttered wondrous things. Her study is replete with antiques from all over the world, all over the British Empire, it should be said, but that is a good third of the world. There are antiquities here from Egypt, from India, from the Americas, from Australia, as she said, from various African colonies. And despite her describing it as a little bit of a mess, it's far from it. It's pretty well organised. Assuming she actually did the organisation, and there are even handwritten, calligraphized labels for every single item, she is quite the amateur antiquarian.
It's certainly not what I was expecting, especially after all this talk of this poor girl needing a cure for some sort of mental ailment. This is fascinating and surprisingly well educated. Even I can acknowledge that. Not that I ever have a go at people being educated. I was self-taught in pretty much everything I know. Bar what my father taught me, I suppose.
I'm sorry it's such clutter. You mentioned... It's not that I need everything given a price tag, although that I do have some labels that don't have full detail on, and I would appreciate a best guess. I sometimes like to look at these things and wonder what someone might pay for them. Not that I would sell them, you understand. But you mentioned Australia back there, that you're headed there?
Yes.
Rare as it is that I would ever give anything away that my father has given me, or that's been passed down through the family, I never really found a place for these, and I thought they might suit you better. And she opens a drawer. There are many drawers in this room, many cabinets with many drawers. And she withdraws what at first seems to be an object the size of a large book, wrapped in a soft cloth. And as she unties the cloth, you realise, no, not a book. It's 4 glass slides. She has a small label that she sort of holds to the side and then passes you the slides. These are just, photographs. My father purchased them. Whenever he's in London, he visits the curiosity shops. I wouldn't be surprised if he's visited yours once in a while. And he knows some people. He knows my interests, and he knows it. Anyway, he picked these up. You've got to hold them up to the light, you see, to see what's in them. And she lifts one from your hands and holds them above your face at an angle, and so that it is between you and the light bulb.
I peek forwards. I'm a little conflicted here. On one hand, I was very happy to be receiving something for free, because, getting stuff for free in life is the best, even though it rarely happens. But seeing pictorial slides, I find myself thinking the value will be quite low, both in value for money and value for any sort of protective charms. Because if we're going to Australia and dealing with bat cults, something tells me my lovely little Foff charm will be lacking. But I peek anyway, I'm intrigued.
So the glass slide, which has clearly been in a camera at some point and imprinted an image upon it, shows a few sweating men standing beside enormous blocks of stone. Familiar in some ways to Stonehenge, only more epic in scope. The blocks are pitted and eroded, but clearly dressed and formed for architectural purposes. There's dim carvings that seem to decorate some of them. Billows of sand are everywhere. It's, my father said, and she checks the label, this is the only surviving record. Actually, that's wrong. I looked it up. But he said the only surviving record of the expedition of Arthur MacWhirr of Port Hedland, Australia. He apparently, and these slides show, he found this giant city. A city of a long-forgotten people. A great people, I suppose you could say, based on the size of the architecture. And he found it somewhere in the desert of Australia, which I take as quite large. Unfortunately, I don't know if this MacWhirr is still in the business of such things, but if he disappeared, I've not been able to find a trace of him. But apparently, somewhere floating around. Apparently, she says, she looks rather coy at this. Apparently, there's some diary of Arthur MacWhirr somewhere.
I squint my nose a little. Have I even heard of an Arthur MacWhirr? Never mind heard of a... I only know a little bit of Australian history, but I'm pretty sure the natives weren't the sorts who built cities.
No, it would have to be a great race of people to have built an enormous city in the desert of Australia.
Yes, this all sounds very unusual. I can't say, Miss Vane, I've heard of any of this before. Where did your father get these?
He picked them up from a collector in London, I'm told, but I'm not going to be making a journey out to Australia, I imagine.
Well, funnily enough we are, though I don't know if I start... Can I hold it for a second?
Oh, please, it's yours.
Oh, I'll start looking over the slides. How legitimate do they look? Does it really look like a city, or just a convenient bunch of stones?
They are definitely built for architectural purposes. These aren't just standing stones organised for a ritual. These are walls, archways, admittedly the antiques of such. This is a long, buried or forgotten piece of urban architecture. But, yeah.
Do they have any details of names or dates? When was this taken?
Arthur McWhirr's name is inscribed in the bottom right of each slide, along with the date 1921.
1921. I think to myself it should have been far bigger, but then of course I know there's a reason sometimes these things don't get bigger, and that's if the expedition ends in a failure and no one ever sees anyone ever again. But then how are these photos collected and taken? What an intriguing little mystery. Thank you, Miss Vane. I'm not entirely sure, I'll be honest, I'm not sure how valuable these are, but they are interesting. You've inspired my interest. I wonder what became of Mr. Arthur McMurr.
Oh, I don't know what happened to McWhirr, but maybe... And she looks at you with some hope. Maybe this could be like an expedition I sponsor, and when you go to Australia, you can find this... What I'm thinking in my head, the expedition of the city... The expedition to the city of the Great Race.
The Great Race? And what race would that be?
Well, something ancient. Primeval, practically. To have built structures like that?
Well, it's not entirely impossible for human hands. The Egyptians did an awful lot, the Mayans...
But imagine the status you and your friends would gain, Mr. Hill, if you discovered and chronicled and exposed this.
Well, yes, the status, the wealth would certainly be something, Miss Vane. Not that we'd forget you, of course, the leader of the expedition, or financier, as it were, or as you said, sponsor, there we go, there's a better word.
I have a little money.
No, and perhaps, unlike me, the idea of just taking money from this poor, possibly odd young woman feels a little bad even for me. Oh, no, I'm sure your brother can handle such things. Now you keep your, you need to buy more of it, you need to invest in your own stocks. That's my advice to a young lady.
You are quite the gentleman, Mr. Hill.
Sure, yes.
I suppose we should rejoin your friends. But you can but actually, by all means, spend time in here. Have a look at my various collections. No one else ever does.
And perhaps I do idly begin looking around the room, purely out of academic interest, keeping my greed to the fore for now, because after all, this could be very much an interesting expedition. That is, of course, if these journeys can be combined, although part of me wonders how coincidental it would be if... Arthur McWhirr. I wonder if anyone in Australia knows more about them. Maybe. Certainly an opportunity here, I think to myself.
And so... I need to ask all of you now, beyond passing on what you have learned, Shelby, to the Vanes, specifically Lawrence, about how his sister might be cured, you don't know for a certainty that it is going to function. After all, if there was a simple trick, one would imagine the Vanes would have used it already. But you never know. Maybe there's a solution. Beyond that, and beyond getting the artifact you're choosing to take with you to Australia, back to Derby and back to where Jackson, Elias and Madeline are there any last pieces of business you wish to conduct in England?
Beyond the information I'm going to give to Lawrence, I'm also going to transcribe the information so I can get it to Mickey Mahoney. As a thank you for all of his help he's done, and also with the hopes that he will know what to do with that. So I'm going to mention the all of the invoices between Cairo and England. All of this has been signed specifically by Gavigan. The connections to Randolph Shipping, and then all of the evidence we've gotten from about the connections to Empire spices and therefore the connections to the murders. The idea is that to draw even tenuous links between Gavigan to be twice removed from the Egyptian murders. That's kind of the package I'm putting together.
And so you use your florid pen. You are, after all, an author of the fantastic when you're not travel writing. To tell a sordid tale of Gavigan being in bed, metaphorically speaking, with Shafiq and her operation, and his possible connection to the Egyptian murders, and everything else you've uncovered. Maybe if Mahoney feels like this kind of story could be published, and the scoop must be riding quite high after its exposure of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, it should have a greater circulation than usual for a bit of a conspiracy rag. Some people might buy it. Some people might lose their faith in Gavigan, and it may compel some bad people to commit some rash actions. We shall see. Can I ask you, Eddy, to make a luck roll?
My luck is 16. I have rolled a 15.
Well, there we have it. A part of you knows, Shelby, a part of you feels like you know, that this story is going to find purchase. Someone, one of your foes, is going to feel the blowback of this story being published. Whether that's going to be Zafira Shafiq, whether that's going to be Edward Gavigan, you will find out should you circle back round to Britain. But that's sometime in the future, and a note for me to take. And how about Madeline? Is there anything further you wish to do after you're deep in meaningfuls with Jackson, planning the future, discussing your reason for even doing this? What else do you wish to do, if anything?
I think there's just 2 brief items, and I think they're just both me clarifying with the Keeper. Is Jackson travel capable right now?
With difficulty, yes. You can choose to bring Jackson with you. And in fact, he seems keen to get out of the hospital room, not just because he dislikes hospitals, but as he says to you, Madeline, I don't know how safe I am here. I think the Vanes have done a good job covering my whereabouts in the short term. But if Shelby's planning on exploding things with the Black Pharaoh group, they're going to be looking for scalps. So I'm going to risk it on board and set sail on a 4-month voyage with you. Maybe we could make some fun out of it.
Well, we'll certainly try. No, I can't think of anything else that I want to do while we're still here in England. I don't like the idea of leaving the Felix, and I say his name loosely, situation unresolved. It feels like a casket that we're not going to be able to close the lid on, but we can't go back to London. That's not something we would want to risk outsourcing to someone else. So I think I'm just going to have to carry that unfinished suffering with me as we flee the continent. Knowing at some point we'll have to cycle back. I'll have to cycle back and resolve that. Because the only thing that hurts worse about the fact that we lost Felix is that we lost him, and the last conversation I had with him was that I didn't trust him.
And Bertie, any last actions in England before bon voyage you set sail from Plymouth?
Not many. I reckon, again, it seems I've been given Shattuck's permission, and I'll assume that means Madeline too, to simply make the phone call from the Vanes needed to make sure that lovely priceless idol is on its way somewhere else, preferably in this case not back to London, but somewhere far, far, far away. For a reasonable price. I won't be too greedy here, you can't be. We need the thing quickly out of our hands, so I reckon a simple purchase. Someone will have to come and look at it, but we won't ask for too much. Just get something and send it on its way. Unless, of course, I am stopped in any way by anyone else. But personally, I reckon simply throwing it in the river might not quite cut it. And of course, deep down would be a complete waste.
And so, though it takes another few days to recomport yourselves, make sure all of the information you need is given to the Vanes, hoping that next time you hear from them it will be that Eloise has recovered, that the curse has been lifted, that none of your nearest and dearest here in Britain have been targeted, especially you, Bertie. They do, after all, share your name. That, indeed, you are not wanted felons, given what has occurred. That your newspaper article will hit the big time and capture the nation's imagination. That the cult of the Black Pharaoh may suffer a few blows, if not get annihilated completely due to your actions. You board your vessel. Jackson hobbling along a little. He has to be helped by you, Madeline, but he is grateful to be out of his hospital bed. Rupert is coming as well. He wouldn't leave you behind, even though he fancies remaining with the Vanes for a while. He feels his ties are to you, first and foremost. And with promises that the Vanes will regularly send telegrams to your vessel to ensure that you are well and to give you updates on what they've heard. Jackson gives you a hug and a kiss, Madeline, and he says to all of you, "We'll be docking in Sydney when we finally arrive. It's a long way off. There's only one archaeologist I know in Sydney, and she's an amateur, but no different than I am. Once upon a time we had planned a possible expedition together that never came to light. Her name is Davina Dodge. Maybe she will be able to point us in the right direction." And so, with Britain very much in the rear view, your vessel takes to the sea, and it will indeed be a long 4-month journey before reaching Australia.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Masks of Nyarlathotep for Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Joining us as our keeper is none other than our dear friend Matthew Dawkins, and we were also joined by Bridgett Jeffries and Eddy Webb. The music was made by Ager Sonus and Halgrath, and we've also used Cryochamber's Lovecraftian compilation albums. All of this with the permission of Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. You would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, this show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of the Lost, Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum there. And you can also get early and raw access to all of our recordings, and hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as even play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, I am the last. I will tell the Audient Void.